Neglected as a child, then essayed and killed by her own brother, and even after her death, her dumped body was molested by a stranger. This is the case of Amber Niven. Amber and her brother Connor had a tough childhood. Their mother was the victim of DV at the hands of their father. He would regularly abuse the mother in front of the two children and at one point even rendered her unconscious. Due to what the mother was going through and the awful environment at home, they became neglected and malnourished. The siblings were so hungry that they even tried stealing food just to survive. In 2008, this did lead to social services becoming involved. With the social services now being involved and the amount of neglect that they faced, the children were put in foster care. They moved to live with foster parents, a couple in Lanarkshire, and this was the first stable home that they'd ever known. With this, you'd think the siblings would have an unbreakable bond from everything they'd been through together. However, unfortunately, this case takes a different turn. Amber was a happy-go-lucky girl and she'd adjusted to her new life well. Her brother Connor did the opposite. He was known to threaten to kill other students at school, and he was generally quite violent and had quite a lot of outbursts. Now, Amber was around 15 years old and she went to a house in Bothwell to hang out with some friends, which is quite a normal thing for teenagers to do. However, unfortunately, Amber had fallen asleep at this house, and when she woke, she had no clothing on her bottom half, and next to her in the bed was a naked 20-year-old man named Jamie Stars. This wasn't Jamie's first assault. Just a month before he attacked Amber, he'd arred another teenage girl. Amber went on to report the attack, as did the other girl that was attacked, and thankfully Jamie was put on the S-offenders register. He actually got 10.5 years in prison, but Amber never saw him being put away, because what would happen next would take her life in the most brutal way. Amber had plans to meet up with her brother Connor. She was really looking forward to meeting him, and she even posted a selfie of them both on her Snapchat. They were seen on CCTV walking together. However, later that night her brother Connor could be seen walking back the same way, alone. The CCTV cameras actually tracked Connor from Cadso Bridge to the Blue Triangle Homeless Hostel, which is where he was staying, and this was just before midnight. He was caught going into his accommodation. 20 minutes later he was seen walking towards some bins. He had changed his clothing and was carrying a bag with items inside, which he then placed in the bin. So what happened to Amber? Well, her brother had walked with her to Cadso Glen, a local nature reserve. Once here, he started beating her, in which he broke her nose. He then started removing her clothing and S-ha'd her with the intention of R. Connor then strangled his little sister to death. Amber was reported missing on Friday the 26th of November 2021, and her lifeless body would be found on the morning of the 28th of December. However, even after death, Amber still endured torment. The guy who actually found Amber's body, his name was Stephen Corrigan. He was aged 45. He didn't report it to the emergency services. What he did was sick. Corrigan would go on to molest Amber's body and try then to conceal it. Eventually, his DNA would be found on 39 areas of her body, proving that he'd abused her corpse. Stephen Corrigan was then jailed for 9 years. While all this was going on, Amber's brother Connor was posting tributes to her on his Facebook page. He wrote, "Amber, you will fly high for the rest of time. We will all miss you, especially me. I love you, Ginger Midget. Goodbye for now," with a kiss. Connor was then later arrested on the 1st of December 2021 and jailed for life. Widespread blood staining on his jacket was said to be compatible with Amber, and his DNA was also found on her shorts, which she'd worn as underwear, which had been forcibly torn off. Following the guilty verdicts, Mr. and Mrs. Niven, the foster parents, described Amber as the most giving, caring, loving, supportive and admirable person. Have you heard of the case of Amber Niven before?